Hello and welcome back to the Live School Podcast. This is your host, Jordan, and I hope your summer teacher tan is coming on strong. We are finishing up June, heading into July, and at this point, I bet your teacher trivia team has won a round in every restaurant in town. If you've never played trivia with teachers, you're missing out because they crush every time. So, like, for real, get a team together. If you're like me, you've probably hiked every trail in the region, and I hope your region's not as smoky as mine is at the moment. Wildfires are nuts. But if you're on pace to reach the end of Netflix by Independence Day, that's okay. Finish out, watch all the things, do all the things, enjoy it all. You've earned it. Teaching is a hard job. Leading schools is a hard job. Pushing forward education of our youth, all those things, it's hard to do. You've earned a little break. Enjoy yourself. But we know you just might have trouble turning that teacher brain of yours off, and your golf clubs might even start looking a little less appealing. If they're like mine, then they may even have cobwebs at this point, which that's neither here nor there. But that's why we here at the Live School Podcast, this episode, we put together a comprehensive list of the best ways for teachers and principals and all educators to relax, progress, and maybe even be inspired a little bit all summer long. And if you're looking for our normal structure of a deep dive, or like into house points or reward systems or PBIS or school culture, check back in next week. We'll be right back on that structure. This is kind of our middle of summer episode, and we're kind of trying to meet you where you are, because right now we think most of you would be in a relax, progress, and look for inspiration mode, as opposed to a more of a deep planning mode. We'll kick back up in July with our back to school episodes. So we're going to give you guys a lot of resources here that are, some of them are on the Live School site, a lot of them are not. We're going to give you some other teachers you should be following on TikTok, besides the Live School account, which you should be. And we're going to really talk through what they're offering and how you can get the most out of this stretch of summer. So without further ado, let's talk about some blogs you should be reading. Now, the first one, and no shameless plug here, is my Live School blog. If you're looking for great information that is sourced from the classroom, from schools, from school leaders, that's on the Live School blog. Everyone that is contributing articles there has real experience, whether it is at the moment or previous, and they're sharing their expertise with you, and I think you should check it out. So shameless plug. I will certainly link it in the show notes. The next two blogs you should be reading are the Gifted Guru, and it is a article that's titled 11 Things Every Teacher Should Do This Summer. And like I said, I will link this in the description. But one of those I want to call out right now is, and the writer does a great job here, and her name is Lisa, but the one I want to direct your attention to would be on that list of making the most of your PD opportunities. So she gives a list of things you should go into every session with, and keep an open mind. And it's easy to resent PD at times, but really you should be embracing it. So here's some questions that she gives you to consider to get the most out of whatever PD opportunities you choose to take this summer. Number one, what can I learn from this? Number two, if I can't use it, can someone else? Number three, what's my biggest takeaway? Number four, what can I learn from? And then this is a negative example. So what's something I noticed that I definitely do not want to do? That's valuable too, by the way. And what needs to happen to adapt this to my content area, grade level? How do I put this into action? So there's a lot of other great things on the blog, and I will link that for you. But that's one I thought you could definitely get some value out of, because I don't know about you, but I've been in a lot of PD sessions, and you go into them, and if you don't have the right frame of mind, you don't get as much out of it. So the next one is 7 ways teachers can relieve stress this summer. And this one is from a blog called Big Ideas Learning. And like I said, I will link this for you. And my favorite one there is the idea of taking a trip. And that sounds cliche and pretty obvious, but taking a trip to a new place is a great way to reduce tension, and it gives you a chance to experience new communities and culture, and it's going to enhance your creativity and make you a little bit more mentally resilient. So you'll get all the relaxation benefits of vacation, but you're also going to equip yourself with new experiences and maybe some fun anecdotes to take you into the new school year. Now, that last bit there that the article mentions about taking anecdotes with you in the new school year, that is the best way to make a relationship with your students is when you can share real life experiences. And the only way you're going to do that is if you get out and do some real life things. So that's the recommendation I pulled from that article I like the most was go and take a trip. I don't have to tell most of y'all probably are taking trips, but think about it as, you're picking up things to talk to folks in school about, things to talk to your students about. Those things make you relatable, and they make you a better teacher at the end of the day. So, and it refreshes. Hey, not to mention it's going to be a little bit of fun. So that's 3 blogs you should be reading this summer. I will link all 3. These are 4 social accounts I would recommend you following, and all these are on TikTok. If you've not seen the Live School TikTok, it is at Why Live School. So go check us out. Our account is full of tips, clips from the podcast, as well as memes that are directed for teachers because they are the inside jokes that only teachers and principals would know. So check that out. And here are 4 that we follow that I think you would like as well. The first one is Educator Andrea. She's a high school English teacher and has some great, hilariously relatable content that if you teach high school or middle school, you are certainly going to relate to. Everything she posts. I was a high school teacher. I was a 9th grade teacher too. So when she posts like stories about her classroom, like they are really spot on to me. So check that out. The next one is another 9th grade teacher. I'm partial to 9th grade teachers, obviously, is Mr. V History. He's a history teacher. He gives a lot of great classroom management tips. He also does a lot of memes and funny trends and stuff. So, but check him out. He talks a lot about high school, state of high school, and surviving high school as a teacher and fun history stuff. But check out Mr. V's History. The next one, Sarcastic in Science. This is a teacher who does interviews with her students, and they're hilarious. And she walks around at recess, or I think that they may have a quad situation at their school where students pass back and forth between buildings. But she asks them science questions, and their answers are hilarious because it's things that they don't necessarily know or have covered. But check out Sarcastic in Science. Very funny. And the last one is Stand Up Randazzo. If you are familiar with our show, we actually had Gaspar Randazzo on the show a couple months ago, and when we were still called The Flywheel Effect, and he's hilarious. His account is also hilarious. If you thought he was funny on the show, his social accounts are amazing. But it's all very much inside jokes for educators, things that you're going to find funny. If you listen to this podcast, you will find him funny because you have lived the things that he is talking about, things that he's acting out on his page. So I will link all 4 of those for you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is 3 beach-worthy books. If you were like me and you take when you go on your trips, you do always take books. I read a lot. Your standard like beach vacation book, either I don't like it all, or I read it so fast that I run out of my beach read very quickly. So I also like to bring some school-related books, and here are 3 that I would take with me this summer. These actually all 3 came out a couple of years ago, but I think they're all very valuable. The first one is Jimmy Cassis, Culturize. Every student, every day, whatever it takes. Great book on improving the culture of your school. And Jimmy really shares insights on what it takes to cultivate a community of learners, and they embody, the traits that our world needs. So you're talking about how to make kindness more common in your school, honesty more common in your school, compassion more common in your school. So check that out, Culturize. I will link the Amazon link if you'd like to check that out. The next one is Hacking School Discipline. There's a whole hacking set of books. There's a bunch of these books that are hacking something in school. The one I like the most is Hacking School Discipline, and that's 9 ways to create a culture of empathy and responsibility using restorative justice, written by Brad Weinstein and Nathan Maynard. And if you are at a school or that is not using restorative practices or not really as interested in that angle, I think it's definitely valuable even from a classroom management perspective. But certainly, if you are a leader in your school and you're in charge of discipline, this is a book that helped me a ton because of the whole idea of creating a culture of empathy and responsibility with that working both ways. And there's all sorts of ideas on ways to make this work in classrooms, ways to make this work like when you're actually processing referrals, for instance. And there's a lot of things there that I've used in my writing on the blog. I've used on our social accounts and things that I've used on this podcast because I learned a lot from this book. So I highly recommend that one. Check it out. And the last one I want to recommend is the Assistant Principal 50. And this is 50 critical questions for meaningful leadership and professional growth. And that was written by Broody Kafele, who was also on this podcast back in the fall. So if you scroll back, you can find our interview with Principal Kafele. And that's a great one. And it's going to be, if you're an assistant principal now, this is how you be the best assistant principal you could be. If you are a teacher trying to go for leadership positions, this is a great book that'll get you ready, and it'll set you apart from the other folks applying for those positions. And if you're already a school leader, you're the executive principal, you're the head honcho in your school, I would still recommend this book because it's going to teach you how to get the most out of your leadership team. What should an assistant principal be doing, and how do they impact your school the most? And so I think that one's very valuable. So it's 3 books. I will link the Amazon page for all 3 of those in the description. All right, the next one. These are podcasts for teachers who like their PD on the go. Now, you obviously do because you're listening to this one. So there's your first one is our podcast, but you're already here. My recommendation for our podcasts, the Live School podcast, is share it with somebody. If you have an aspiring school leader or you have another school leader who is interested in the similar topics as you are, share an episode with them, forward it to them. Actually, I would even challenge you to forward it to 3. Now, push it out further. That kind of stuff, like our show. Leave us a review. All those things help us make great content, and they help us get our content in front of the folks who need it the most. Okay, and the other 2 that I would like to recommend to you would be the EdTech podcast that's hosted by Sophie Bailey. Tons of episodes there, and they're all about using education in the classroom. How do teachers get the most out of it? How do school leaders implement education technology? They talk to leaders in the industry. They talk to folks that are in schools. A couple of my, the episodes that I think would benefit you the most would be, internet safety for children. I think that's episode 265. I think that would be very valuable, as well as, if you are a district personnel, there's even some things on, on purchasing ed tech and all those kind of things. I think those would be, and of course, using AI in education. Those are all topics that you really should familiar yourself with, and particularly if you're a school leader. So I think that's very valuable for you. And the last one is going to be the Better Leaders, Better Schools podcast. That one's hosted by Daniel Bauer, and it's all about making a ruckus in education, the ruckus makers. And it's out-of-the-box school leaders making changes happen. And it's a very similar show to a lot of our earlier episodes, because I was a listener to his show. So we did a lot of interviews with school leaders, and that's what he does. But it's really good for turning your commute, your chores, your walk into good PD. And then it's things you can take that are actionable in your school. So there's 3 podcasts, and 2 podcasts, and 1 that you need to share for sure. That would be ours. And all right, let's talk about some live event PD, some things that you can go, you should be seeing. Now, the first one I would recommend would be the Innovative School Summit. And if you wanted to do that in the summertime, I think their big summer event is in Vegas. I think it's coming up maybe next week, so it's probably too late for that. But they do these all year long. And I would like to recommend the Innovative School Summit if you are a longtime listener of our show. So you started listening with the Flywheel Effect, and all of our early interview episodes, almost all of those guests are folks that I first heard at a Innovative School Summit conference, or they were sharing their thoughts there. And when you go to one of those conferences, they have different, there are like multiple conferences in one. So if you're interested in things like innovative teaching strategies, then they have a whole lineup of that. They have school leadership forums. They have, school culture and climate forums, and then obviously school discipline and SEL. And they have some great content on trauma-informed care, and they the best speakers in the country come to those. And the cool thing is they have these in different cities. So I think throughout the next year, if you want to schedule one, would be, or you want to, go to one, would be Chicago, San Antonio, New York, Orlando, and Nashville. So I recommend that as a live option event, as a live event that you should attend if you can. The next one I would recommend would be the Agile Teachers Lounge, and that's a virtual event that is hosted through LinkedIn. And they have folks that are in and out of the classroom or have been in the classroom. Great host. I was on there back in the fall, and I'll link that episode in the show notes as well. But check out the Agile Teachers Lounge. It is ran by two teachers that are running that show pretty much on their break during the school year, like while they're having their breaks during the day. They'll basically hop on and do a live podcast essentially. So I think it's really cool. Every episode's a little different depending on who their guest is. So check it out. If you're on LinkedIn, for sure, check it out. But it's a YouTube show that is often run through LinkedIn. I will tag that for you as well. And the last one there would be the Live Schools webinar series. And we have webinars all year round. We take a break here in the summer, and we'll start them back up right after you're done with back to school. And we hit topics that, if you're listening to this show, you're interested in, and you're going to enjoy, and you're going to be able to use to improve your school. We had school leaders from all around the country. We had an elementary principal from Texas come on and talk to us about how to reduce referrals, how to reduce suspensions. We've had teachers from Mississippi come on and talk about incorporating PBIS points in the classroom. We had a district leader from California come on and talk about how to use reward stores in innovative ways, including in alternative schools. It's really cool stuff. We've had a principal come on from Kansas City who walked us through how to use points in the classroom to improve targeted behaviors throughout the school year. So, and then full on rollouts of PBIS. How do you get a house system going within a short amount of time? And this is from school leaders who've done that, and they've done it recently, or they're doing it right now. So I will link our webinar series. Highly recommend it, and we'll be tagging when we have some new ones coming up this fall. Speaking of, if you have a great story and you would like to share it, feel free to write to us, and we'll see if it works for the series. Now, did we miss a great resource for teachers this summer? Send it to us. We'll share that on our social channels as well. I want to highly recommend you follow us. TikTok is @WhyLiveSchool. Instagram is @GetLiveSchool. YouTube, WhyLiveSchool. Twitter, WhyLiveSchool. And of course, check out our blog at whyliveschool.com. Have a great summer. We'll be back with a regular deep dive episode after the 4th of July. Go watch some fireworks, have a barbecue, enjoy your summer. You earned it.